Hey guys, it's Carolyn again. Welcome back to the Quit Getting Screwed podcast, where we talk about all the ways not to get screwed in the construction industry and how to run a better business. And today I have the LinkedIn guru with me, Miss Donna Serdula. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Carolyn. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank
So
you for
before we
having
jump in,
me.
anytime, before we jump into all the great LinkedIn questions, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this line of work.
Sure. Well, I didn't grow up thinking I want to have a branding agency and help people with LinkedIn. I mean, that didn't even exist back then. But you know, I was in sales and marketing for a long time. And speaking of the construction industry, I was selling AutoCAD software to architects and engineers. And let me tell you, I feel your pain.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I was trying to get AutoCAD, into these architect offices, engineering firms. And, the way I was doing it was like, I'm cold calling and, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. And it was funny because back then LinkedIn just kept like nipping at my toes. It was like, I had a profile, but I didn't do anything with it. I was calling people, trying to figure out who these people were by checking them out on LinkedIn. Profiles never really gave me the information that I craved and I needed. And then I had this epiphany one day. Oh my God, I'm doing exactly the same thing as all these prospects and clients. I'm not using this as a way of really, educating people and adding value. I was just sort of regurgitating an old, dull resume. And, when I had that epiphany, everything changed for me. My sales changed, my business changed, even the outlook that I had on life, oddly enough, changed because I started to look at it in a different way. It wasn't so much as I'm calling and I'm dialing for dollars, but I'm helping people and I'm guiding people and I'm inspiring and educating people, and everything flipped for me at that point. It was in 2009 I started my business, and today we write LinkedIn profiles and we do personal and professional and career branding for people all over the world.
So the name of your company is Vision Board Media, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Our domain is linkedinmakeover.com,
Gotcha.
which which sort of tells you that I was thinking small back then, but it has well delivered regardless of that mindset.
Gotcha. So tell me, like, people know about marketing and like social media. What is branding and what is professional branding a company? What does that mean?
You know, I think the way I look at it, it's everyone has brand, right? You exude this essence. People know you for something. But when you are correctly branding yourself, you're taking control and you are shaping that narrative. You are determining how others see you, because what you're doing is you're being very, very deliberate, and you're saying, this is what's important to me. This is what I want to be known for. And this is how I'm going to present myself. Because the big secret, Carolyn, is most people have no idea what to think of you. They have no idea. They look to you to tell them. And if you don't tell them anything, they're just going to kind of go off of little, little things that they can surmise very quickly. So if you just simply say to them and give them that information, whether it's in the way you present yourself, the way you dress, it could be your email signature, it's your resume, it's your LinkedIn profile, it's how your website looks, all of these things come together. And that essence that they provide is your brand.
So and I'm curious, how do the two work? How did, like, the brand is kind of a personal thing that you usually put out on your personal Facebook, and how does that work? How do you integrate it with the company?
Yeah. And truthfully, it's not just a personal, it really does shift. And I think it even plays a bigger role in the professional world, right?
Mhm.
It's when you reach out to clients and when you talk to prospects and when you go to these networking events and you talk to people, it's it's how you respect yourself, and it shows up, and other people then respect you, and it's how you present yourself. Now, we were saying this prior to you hitting record. So this is going to sound redundant to you, but anyone listening, it's not. The brand has to go alongside good work, right? Because if it's just the brand, if you just present yourself well, but you have nothing to fall back on, it doesn't matter. People see through that. But it's when you have the right, you have the background and you have the know-how and you're doing good work and you can add that value, that when you wrap the brand around it, that's when fire really happens. That's when good things happen.
So that's I guess that's like a company that didn't have a brand compared to one that does. What are some of the differences? Like how do you use the brand to become more successful?
I think it's one of those things. In some ways it could be very, very subliminal and very subtle, right? So there could be a company out there that's doing great. They're doing fabulous. They have a brand. Don't get me wrong. They have a brand, but do they have a cultivated? Do they have a deliberate? Do they have an intentional brand? No, they don't. They just have a brand that, people just happened, just sort of developed around them. And it could work just fine. Don't get me wrong. It could be working just fine and they could be doing really fabulous. They could be making tons of money and doing amazing things. But if you take a company that has that exact same background, but they have made those deliberate decisions and they've worked hard to really make sure that scaffolding around them is exactly how they want to appear, and it evokes something. What will they find? Well, one, they may be attracting better employees. Those candidates are going to be attracted and they like what they see, as opposed to having to like really claw and dig and hope and pray that they're joining the right organization. The organization is already exuding those things, so it doesn't take a potential employee long to decide, yeah, this is the company that I want to work for. Same thing with prospects and clients. Rather than a lot of these clients nowadays, prospects, they're coming already researched. They've already gained the knowledge, looking and seeing and talking to people and learning. It gives them more information. So maybe they're going to come to you sooner rather than later. Maybe that sales process is going to really, truncate because people are getting more information up front and being able to make that decision sooner. So, those are just two things, but it's just being able to say, this is who we are. This is what we represent, and making it very clear for people to see that.
So what would be your first steps if you're like a company that like they told you to have a website, you have a website, you have something on Facebook and social media, but you don't know what to do. Like you don't know what to do to get to the personal brand or make to that next level that makes you different than somebody who does what you do. What are some of the first steps that you can take?
I think, when I look at the methodology that I have for getting loud and succeeding on LinkedIn, I call it SOAR. And I think it overlays really well on just branding in general. And so the SOAR is SOAR, strategize, optimize, amplify, relate. So strategize. You got to figure out, what is the story? What are those elements? What are your values? What is the vision? Why are you doing this? You need to have that. You can't just jump in and, start painting a house if you don't know what color and you don't know what type of paint, you haven't bought it. Like you've got to really, just strategically really understand, what is it that you bring to the table? What is the solution that you're solving? Well, how do you do it differently than everybody else? Right. You've got to have that strategy in place. Then once you do that, then you want to start to look at the different elements and you do want to optimize it. And maybe it's something you can do on your own. Maybe it's something that you need to bring some people in to help you, because it's hard to write about yourself. It's hard to write about your company. One of the big issues that I see with LinkedIn, especially with business owners, is they want to define themselves through their company, yet people want to do business with them.
Yes.
Right. So it's so much easier just to copy and paste, something that was written about the company. It's almost, you're less vulnerable that way. But, people are coming. They want to learn more about you. Who's leading this organization? Like who's the real person that's pulling all the strings? That's the person I'm working with. That's the person I want to know more about. you got to let them know. You got to tell your story and let them know. And it's okay to say, like, I think a lot of times I hear people go, oh, they don't want to hear everything. Well, they don't want to hear everything, but they want to hear the key points that led you to where you are, right? There is something there that gets people excited and interested, and it helps them forge that confidence, right? So that's, the optimize those different elements, whether it's your LinkedIn profile or it's your website, or, it's your brochures, your marketing material, but really make sure that they're imbued with all of those things that we talked about, your values and who you are and why you're doing it. And then you got to amplify, and on LinkedIn, amplify is, building that network. It's making sure you have that audience. And that's true straight across, it's networking. It's staying in touch with people. It's talking to your clients and seeing who they know. There is a world of opportunity out there, but you need to be able to amplify it. And then you get to relate, and relate is the actual networking, and it's getting active, and it's being seen. And that's when it all comes together for you.
Gotcha. So I'm just curious, is this like a new idea that people are really interested in, like learning like about the business owner who runs it? It seems like this is something that's within the last 10 years it's picked up, or has it always been that way? Have consumers always looked into like the brand of a company?
I feel that it's always been there. I don't think it really necessarily had a name
Gotcha.
before, but
Mhm.
it was always there. I mean, I look at it almost as the old, the old Main Street, where you knew the barber and you knew the butcher, and you walked down the street and you saw the people who owned the businesses, and you respected them, and you liked them, and you did business with them because of that. There's no real difference, right? It's still the same thing. It's just our mediums have changed,
And the way we do
right?
business has changed. So we have to have more of to have that same effect, we have to have more of a presence online. And so if a company decides that this is something they want to do and it's something that's important to them, and obviously they don't know where to start, they want to hire somebody like you, what are some of the questions they should ask? What should they be looking for? And how often should they have like reports? And
Mhm.
yeah, let's
You
get
know,
them.
I think, let's go, like, let's actually kind of go real, like, microscopic on this one. Let's say you want to just start out small. You want to take a little baby step, rather than saying, all right, let's revamp the entire company. Let's just look in and say, I want to make sure that as the business owner, I'm reflecting myself well. Like, I'm going to brand me first, and then maybe I'll brand the company. Right? That's
Mhm,
not a bad way to go.
mhm.
And so I would say in that situation, decide, is it LinkedIn? Maybe for your clients it is. I think if you're working with high net worth individuals, if you're working with people who have networks, who work for corporate companies, even small businesses, LinkedIn is a fabulous network, right? And so, say, how am I first? What am I projecting? How am I representing myself? That's, I think, that's like a very easy and very affordable first step. And put together, really look at it and see who's out there. Maybe someone who can help you, but ultimately it's not just getting a kid who can write, or just going on to ChatGPT and putting stuff in there. You really do want to be thoughtful and make sure that it's strategic, right? Because you want to really think in terms of who's going to be reading the profile. What do they need to know about you? And then what do you want to give them? It's more about, it's not just what everything you want to say, but what do they need to know? And what do you want them to be leaving with? What is that thought? So, it does take a little bit of, human brain power.
Time to reflect on really why you're in the business that you're in.
Yeah, yeah. So that's that. I would say that, do yourself first, and then maybe extend it to the company page, to just widen that digital footprint. Maybe it's also then looking at your team and saying all of the people who are externally facing, who are reaching out to clients, who are closing business, or who are interfacing with architects and engineers, or working with investors, or real estate developers. These are people who need to have a reputation. They need to be respected. How are they
Yeah.
showing up on LinkedIn? because every person who they're getting on the phone with is looking at them. They want to know, is this someone I can respect? Is this someone I can admire? Is this someone that I can work with? Is this someone I can negotiate? Is this someone I can take advantage of? Ooh, right?
Yeah.
So let's make sure that they're showcasing themselves correctly. And then I think once you start to get a handle on that and that outward representation, then you can start to say, all right, is our website doing what it needs to be doing? Is our marketing material doing what it needs to be doing?
Gotcha. So it's all definitely a process, and you can start small.
Yeah.
And just kind of work your way.
Because most people, I don't think, have a true vision immediately out of the gate, right?
Okay.
This has to almost be an iterative process.
Absolutely.
And the other part of it that's completely iterative is the time aspect, because you do it once, you got to keep doing it because you keep shaping and shifting and your goals are changing.
And so how often should they be posting? Or, that's always the biggest question. I'm going to do this. How often should I do it? What does consistency look like?
Yeah. To me, there's the foundational aspect, which is the profile. The profile's there 24/7. It's acting as a beacon. It's acting as your digital, substitute, fill in, whatever. So make sure that looks good, and make sure that it's look, these things are easy to get out of date. Hey, I updated my profile like 10 years ago. I'm good. You're not, but try to keep it as up to date as possible, right? But you do want to have that one big, let's go in there and let's get it to where it needs to be today. And then, once you have that, that's the foundational piece. After that, it's what I was saying before. It's the R and the SOAR. It's how do you relate? How do you shine? How do you keep showing up? And that's the LinkedIn feed. No, it's also other things as well. It's going to networking events. It's going to user group meetings. It's going to conferences. It's cold calling. It's prospecting. Mm-hmm. But, in the LinkedIn realm, it's saying, you know what, I'm going to take some time and I'm going to scroll through my LinkedIn feed and I'm going to see what my network is talking about, because there's going to be certain people in your network that are already loud on LinkedIn. There's going to be some who are kind of loud on LinkedIn, and there's going to be some that are totally silent. And that's okay. But those that are silent are not completely silent, because of that group that's silent, some of them are not logging in, but there is a group that's logging in and they're scrolling and they're taking it all in and they are seeing you. They may not even let on that they're seeing you, but they're seeing you, right? So with that, as sort of the audience, you want to get on and you want to scroll through. And I think a really good 3-step approach, Carolyn, is 1, spend a week just scrolling. Just give yourself 15 minutes in the morning, scroll, and just see what you're seeing. Kind of acclimate to the LinkedIn landscape, right? And take time to recognize what attracts you. What do you like? What kind of engages you? And take that mental note, like, okay, these are the posts that I really like. Mm-hmm. The second week, spend 15 minutes. But the second week, what I just want you to do is engage with the content. So just like and comment, and not just comment like, oh, this is cool. Like, great idea. But really comment, like, try to think of it as a conversation that's taking place, and give something of yourself, give advice, give a memory, give, what it reminds you of, give something in that comment, and give it a couple minutes, spend like 3-4 minutes on the comment. You can't do a lot of comments in 15 minutes, but maybe, can you do 2? Can you do 3? That's great. Do that every day for a week, just to like jump into that bucket of cold water. Right. So now you do that for a week. Next, the 3rd week, this is where you now say, all right, I'm going to post. I've spent time looking. I know what looks good. I've spent time engaging. I know what engages. I'm going to create a post. And moving forward, 1 post a week, that's great. Heck, 1 post every 2 weeks is fine. I'm not going to tell you to post every day. That is insanity.
I agree.
All right. It's insanity. The people who say that have either 1, they have no idea how business runs, or 2, they have no business, so they have all the time in the world to create this content, or they are so successful, they have a team of people doing it for them. So of course they can outsource it. So they're not even at this level yet. We're not at that level. So,
Mhm.
so can you post once a week? Can you post once every 2 weeks? I want you just to get into a habit of posting with some regularity, some type of a consistent frequency. And what are you posting? You could post about a job you got. You could post about a frequently asked questions. All your clients are always asking you this question. Post about it. Did you read an article that was interesting? Did you hear a quote that you found fascinating? Is something happening in the industry that you want to give your 2 cents on? All of these things could work, but you have to show up. You have to throw your hat in the ring. And I know it's scary. I know it's scary because you
Very
don't want
being
to
very
float.
vulnerable. That's hard. Like, what are people
Yeah.
going to say? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to
Or am I going to make a mistake and everyone's going to be laughing at me? Like, oh my God,
you
this
have a
is
spelling
horrible.
error? Like, go viral for?
I know it is scary, but I will say this, if you go on and your thought is, I want to sell and I want to get a lot more clients from this post. That's yucky. That's yucky.
No, nobody likes that.
No one likes that. But if you go on and you're like, you know what? I want to add some value. I want to educate. I want to help people. I want to be there and I want to show people that I care. And I really do care.
Mhm.
People see that. And even if you do have a little bit of a mistake, they don't care. They
Yeah.
don't mind. It's okay. This is a learning
Well,
exercise.
I think authenticity is like one of the most important things.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, it's showing up, being there, and and here's a secret that it's kind of hard for a lot of people to grasp. But when you're on LinkedIn and you're posting, sometimes you find that it's like crickets. No one's responding. Right. And you're like, what did I do wrong? Why doesn't anyone love me? Why isn't anyone like
Amazing.
commenting?
Yeah.
Yeah, why isn't anyone engaged? Well, there's a few things at play. One, did you ask for engagement? Did you tell them what to do? Because remember what I said in the beginning, people don't know what to think until you tell them what to think, right? So they're not going to engage unless you tell them what you want them to engage. Right. So ask them a question, ask for their opinion, be very specific. This is how you can engage with this post. Here's a question, or here, give me this advice. So that's one thing. But the other thing here, this is the most powerful. Are you engaging with other people's posts?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Most likely you're not. Most likely you're just thinking, I gotta be the, the bullhorn here. Well, it's not a pulpit, it's a conversation pit.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to get in there and you got to start commenting on other people's stuff. And when you comment on other people's stuff, they're going to comment on yours.
Yours. Yep. Absolutely. And I've seen that too. So tell me about some of your favorite client success stories.
Oh, my favorite client success stories. I think, I'm thinking because your client, your audience would be, business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's the business owners that have said to me, like, I got this business. I don't know how to represent it. I'm not like when I'm hiring, it's crickets. I'm not getting the right people in. Clients just don't seem to even understand what it is that we're doing. They don't even seem to respect me as the business owner. So it's when we go in and we're able to solve a lot of things with something so simple as a profile and a company page, and just being able to set those expectations and set that definition and just set how others should see them, and being very open. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is what we represent. And people, like I said, people need to know these things. If you don't tell them, how are they going to know? They don't even think to ask. So it's those types of stories that I love. I love when we write profiles and things change, like big time change. They're able to bid on bigger projects, better work. They're working with just higher end clients because now they suddenly are being seen as the equal as opposed to someone below it. And a lot of times you don't even recognize, all that you bring to the table, all of the skills and strengths that you've acquired over the years. In some ways, a lot of business owners are still seeing themselves as that, early startup, and they don't even recognize that, yeah, you're a player too. let's make sure that you're representing yourself as such. And when you do, the right people are going to be attracted to you.
Yeah, and that they have a lot of value to add. And then what about, like, I have some clients that are like, they're scared to put all their secrets out there. Like, it make them different, right? And they don't want the competitors to know. Have you
Yeah.
had any people with that apprehension?
Well, I one of the things that I see a lot is, ooh, I don't want to connect with just my clients because then my competitors will see it. And that
Hmm.
is a problem, right? That is something to be thoughtful of. But at the same time, you'd want to extend that network beyond just that small
True.
specific pool. So make sure that you're connecting with everybody in between, right? And I also think that we have a almost like a myopic view of it
Mhm.
where like you think that the competitor is preying, that the competitor is looking and sneaking and spying. And more often than not, that competitor is busy doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Right. So in some ways it's like put the blinders on, don't be afraid to shine. Don't be afraid to claim who you are. And it's going to be okay. Like those big secrets too are probably pretty traditional business tactics.
And I think it's a lot of what make people different, right? And part of their brand is, and being authentic and being who they are.
Yeah, that's who you want to work with. I mean, do you want to work with that stuffy, all business type? No, you want someone who's real.
Exactly, a real person. Well, if somebody wanted to find more about you and what you do, where would they go?
Sure, they'd visit linkedin-makeover.com. That's my website. And we've got tons of free resources. I have a LinkedIn headline generator. I have a personal branding assessment. I have a text formatter. So if you want to format text on your profile or in LinkedIn posts and get bold and italics, you can use that to do so because there's no formatting, believe it or not, in the LinkedIn realm. So that creates some faux text for you. I have all my services are listed there. We've got a really great AI program that takes you through and generates a profile for you.
Really?
Some people like that. It's real quick, plug and play, in and out. But I think for most people who really do want to get serious, like it's a good way to get started. But when you really want to be serious, you need to talk to someone. And we've
Mhm.
got those types of one-on-one services available as well.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show, and it's been very helpful and insightful, even for me as a small business owner, knowing what to do on LinkedIn. So I truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks.